Welcome to your first year of calisthenics. Let's go over every calisthenics skill in order and the perfect way to train them. Starting off with skill number 1, hollow body hangs. I chose this skill to start with first because hanging has many benefits. From back pain alleviation, spine decompression, and strengthening your grip, hanging is the perfect way to start. When you draw your shoulders down and back, you switch from a dead hang to an active hang. The setup is pretty simple. Simply find a bar, block, or rings that you can hang off of. As long as you're just hanging, you're in a dead hang position. But if you activate your core muscles and squeeze your thighs together, you're going to be classified as an active hang. Squeezing your core and thighs together is perfect for mastering stillness while hanging from the bar. The best way to train this exercise is by alleviating your weight and joints. So tie a resistance band around the bar and hang from it. As you get stronger, I want you to lower the resistance band you're using. Moving on to number 2, the frog stand. I obviously chose the frog stand because I want us to start hand balancing as early as possible. I'm a firm believer that the earlier we do this, the better it's going to be later on when we're doing handstands. As far as the perfect form setup, you want to think about sticking your elbows into your knees. This is how you're going to balance. Do not keep your hands forward. Turn them slightly outwards to alleviate wrist pain. There's going to be 3 balance points. First is your fingertips, the inside of your knuckles where your calluses are, and the palm. In this frog stand position, you'll feel most of the weight on the outside of your hand. Training for the frog stand is all about getting comfortable in this inverted position. Start off with rocks so you can get the feeling right. Next, I want you to move on to simple holds. You're going to do each of these exercises until you can hold them for at least 20 seconds. The objective of these regressions is to get you more comfortable with balancing on your hands. Leg taps or leg switches is going to be the next best thing when it comes to progressions. Again, once you can hold this position for 20 seconds, no problem, you're ready to move on to the next one. Some people would prefer a pillow or some kind of cushion for your head. It's possible to overbalance and have your head bonk on the ground, so hopefully adding a pillow or some sort of cushion there helps protect you from that. Last but not least, we're going to utilize elevation. Remember this setup. Look how I'm basically holding the perfect frog stand, and all I had to do was lean into it. Now moving on to number 3. Hollow body holds. Hollow body holds is an anti-extension exercise. It's one of the first core exercises I recommend doing. Setup is extremely simple. Get on the ground with me. As you lay down, you'll notice the lower part of your back comes up. Actively focus on pressing that into the ground. To do that, your shoulders will come off the ground naturally. Next, you want to lift your legs off the ground and extend them. Spread out as if you were holding a sideways handstand. This is going to teach you about pelvic tilt. If the full hold is too much, simply bring your legs closer to your body and that should alleviate some of the stress. As it gets easier, experiment with certain positions like one leg holds or even straddle holds to get you going for the full thing. Mastery means holding it for 45 seconds. Moving on to number 4, the Pseudo Planche lean. The Pseudo Planche lean is a prerequisite for the full planche. It's extremely heavy on your front delts. Form setup is simple. Protract your scapula or push your shoulder blades away from you. Make sure you're not shrugging your shoulders up. When it comes to the hand position, turn your hand slightly outwards to alleviate any wrist pain. Conquering this position means perfect form with straight arms. You can set up for it like a regular plank. Leaning forward classifies you as a pseudo planche lean. This looks like a regular plank, but I promise you it's more intense than you can even imagine. No lazy cores. Make sure you apply attention to your abdominal muscles. Again, avoid struggling up towards your ears. Don't let your hips sag. Squeeze those thighs and apply attention to those glute muscles. And push out with your shoulders the entire time. Mastery means having your hips stacked over your wrist. The best way to train this is by having a wall or block in front of you. Measure how far you're leaning forward by your hand position. Work on this consistently. Moving on to number 5, the Pseudo Planche push-up. Obviously, incorporating the last skill that we learned, we're simply adding a push-up to that maneuver while we're maintaining that forward lean. You don't understand it yet, but getting strong in this position is going to be essential for mastering advanced skills in the future. Front delt strength is truly king when it comes to calisthenics. If it's too hard to maintain the forward lean, I want you to simply lean into it when you're pushing up and then push all the way back to a regular push-up position. This should make it easier on you. Eventually, you will want to focus on having that forward lean maintained throughout the entire exercise. Moving on to number 6, the tuck front lever. You might be suspicious of this skill, but trust me, it's more difficult than it looks. And it takes a significant amount of straight arm strength and back strength. Thankfully, training for this movement is actually pretty simple. Get on the bar and stick your knees towards your chest. While maintaining straight arms, you want to raise your body until your ankles touch the bar and gently lean yourself back to neutral position. Over time, you'll be able to hold that horizontal static position. Most people will end up bending their arms or shaking uncontrollably when lifting themselves up. Moving on to number 7, the elbow lever. The elbow lever is one of the first cool skills you actually get to learn. It looks like you're floating. How can you not love it? Form setup is all about weight distribution. Stick your hands out in front of you and turn them slightly outwards or even completely all all the way around. You'll want to stick both of your elbows into your abdominals. It should look like this. Trust me, I know it looks weird, but this is exactly what we need to transfer onto the ground. Although this is considered hand balancing, training it is not as simple as it seems. You'll notice as I'm leaning into my hands, I'm gently starting to lift my legs up. If I want to progress even further, I'm going to lean even further into my hands and squeeze my glutes into the straddle position. And lastly, I'm going to lean a little bit further, squeezing my legs together, which gives me that straight line. Stomach pain where your elbows are is completely normal. On to number 8, the German hang. If you want to talk about increasing your shoulder mobility to superhuman limits, the German hang is where you need to be. I know this looks crazy and scary, but you can train with this by putting a block or bench below you. As you get into the position, lower yourself as safely as possible until your feet are touching the block. As we get stronger and more tolerant in this German hang position, we're going to release the blocks until we can do it freestanding like I am now. It's a great shoulder mobility drill. Moving further to number 9, the butcher's block. Most people don't know about this exercise, but it's essential for having the perfect straight handstand. When it comes to perfect form setup, we want to make sure we have our elbows tucked. Avoid having them spread out. You can build strength in this position by doing it on your knees first. Get a feeling for the movement and feel how it opens up your shoulders. This is a skill that's truly slept on, and we need to make sure that our shoulder mobility is top tier. Make sure to actively sink your hips, engaging your core. Once you can hold this position for at least 30 seconds, you're ready to progress it even further by adding some sort of small weight. I usually do 10 or 15 pounds, so don't overdo it. And now, on to skill number 10, the pistol squat, our first leg skill. The pistol squat is not just a party trick, it actually trains most of the muscles in your leg, and it requires an exceptional amount of hip mobility and ankle mobility to complete. When performing, make sure to keep your knees turned outwards and your leg extended. You can train for this movement a number of ways. The first one I'm suggesting is by putting some sort of block or bench under you. Not only will this help you get the form right, but this will also assist you if you're having any sort of preliminary knee pain. So this is a good progression to remember as is. The next progression is going to be step-ups. Start on top of a block or bench and lower yourself as slowly as possible before exploding back up to the top of the rep. You'll steadily gain mobility by doing this exercise. And last but not least, the holy grail is the assisted pistol squat. Perform the pistol squat as well as you know how, and use a block, bench, or even an exercise bike to help you through the latter half of the movement. Next up is skill number 11, the tuck back lever. This skill is similar to the front lever, except this time we're lifting ourselves past the bar. You should remember this position from the previous German hang skill, except this time we're stopping just short and lifting our chest up, not extending our legs and simply staying in that horizontal position. The proper way to train this movement is the exact same way as the front lever. Using straight arms, we're going to lift ourselves until our ankles touch the bar, lowering ourselves back down gently into that horizontal position. And for the next skill we're going to go over, number 12 is compact leg lifts. This is another one of my favorite core exercises. I believe it's essential and integral for your mastery of calisthenics. Set up for this movement by putting your hands around knee level or the bottom of your thigh level. As you place your hands down, make sure you push out and down with your back. Keep your legs extended and lift them into the sky as much as you can. It might not look like it, but this compact leg lift is going to be essential for a future skill that we're going to go over. If this movement is too hard, I want you to focus on single compact leg lifts. This movement is all about gaining hip mobility and core compression. Likewise, if this movement is too easy for you, you can reach your hands even further, like the top of your ankles, and lift your legs like that. So let's say you're not here yet, and single leg lifts are still too hard for you. Place some kind of dumbbell or even paper towel roll in front of you. Focus on doing single leg lifts into the sky, making sure to not touch the paper towel roll or dumbbell. When you can manage that with one leg, I want you to switch to doing it with both legs. This is all for the mastery of core compression and hip mobility, but we're going to get some ab development doing this as well. My final tip for mastering this exercise is using a wall as leverage for your upper back. Lean into the wall, and that should make it easier for you to do single leg lifts or even both leg lifts. I know this looks easy, but it's going to take you some time to get your legs perfectly straight like this and be able to lift it with no problem. Moving on to number 13, the pike push-up. If you want to talk about building some bolder shoulders and getting some insane overhead pushing strength, the pike push-up is going to be your favorite push-up form. Even being slightly inverted like this is going to make it significantly harder for you to control your breath while performing this exercise. The proper form setup for this exercise includes having your head fall above your hands on the decline. You'll want to avoid having your elbows flared out during this exercise. This does not transfer over to advanced skills. Instead, opt for a tucked elbow position. This will prevent any unnecessary shoulder flaring and should transfer over to advanced skills. Don't only push up during this exercise, make sure you push out through your shoulders. When it comes to training for this exercise, the best way is to lengthen the pike that you're using. Perform the regression confidently, making sure your head falls above your hands on the decline and pushing up and out through your shoulders on the incline. Next up is the Almighty L-sit. This is a full body exercise focused on core compression. Set up for this exercise by learning how to depress your scapula, which means pushing down so your shoulder blades are being drawn down as well. Practice depressing your scapula with straight arms. And as you push down into the ground, make sure to levitate your hips back. And now utilizing that compact leg lift to lift our legs up into the air. You can train for this skill by doing single leg alternating L-sits. If you've been following and mastered the compact leg lift, then this skill should be easy for you to learn in no time. Moving on to skill number 15, the archer push-up. It was given its name because you look like an archer holding a bow at the bottom of the rep. The thing that makes this skill so brutal is having that straight arm on the opposite end of the spectrum. This makes this skill a proper regression for the one-arm push-up. The unilateral training style for the archer push-up makes conquering your imbalances simple. You can set up for training this exercise by doing bent arm archer push-ups. No need to all-out sprint into doing a straight arm position. As we gain strength, we'll be building joint flexibility and mobility in no time. Skill number 16, the tuck planche. This is us taking the pseudo planche lean even further. As you can see, we have our legs off the ground, and that's what makes the magic happen for this. When it comes to the form setup, we want to make sure we maintain straight arms. Slide your knees into your chest and keep your feet touching the ground. If this is comfortable, I want you to begin to do alternating leg taps. Make sure you do not lose scapular protraction during the duration of your regressions. Those leg taps should have you unlocking the tuck planche in no time. I told you, front delt strength is king. And now, on to number 17, the reverse Nordic. Reverse Nordic is the best way to build some monster quads with nothing but your own body weight. You'll be strengthening and stretching your quads while alleviating knee pain. Set up with your knees about shoulder length, and have your feet laying flat. Squeeze your glutes and descend controlled. Do not use any sort of momentum to bounce through this movement. Maintain a straight line throughout the duration of the exercise, engaging your core and engaging your glutes throughout. If you'd like to properly practice this maneuver, stake your feet on top of a small elevation. This should shorten the range of motion for you, and as you gain strength, lower the elevation as needed. Lastly, if you have resistance bands, use those to help you through the latter half of the movement. This will help you practice strict form, and as you gain strength and need less help, you can lower the resistance band that you're using, until eventually you can perform the reverse Nordic freestanding. Number 18, the straddle sit. The straddle sit is an advanced variation of the L-sit. It's very cool to do, and I'm going to teach you how simple it is to learn. You'll want to turn your hands slightly outwards, even out to the side. The best way to perform this exercise is to get in it from a squatting position. As you settle into it, you'll notice you're sort of planching into position. Train the flexibility and mobility required by doing straddle leg lifts. So straddle leg lifts for the straddle sit and compact for the L-sit. Getting into this exercise from the ground is insanely hard. To get into it, you'll have to kind of rock into the motion, which is why the best thing to do is to start from a squat position. Skill number 19, the shoulder stand. Although the shoulder stand doesn't look as cool, it's going to be very essential for building shoulder strength and end range strength for the handstand push-up. We're going to train this movement on a wall. Get into the frog stand position and start with one leg until you can eventually put two legs up. Or you can use a wall to lower yourself into the full position as well. Focus on breathing. Skill number 20, the muscle up. The muscle up is a dynamic maneuver and staple in the calisthenics world. You start from under the bar and explosively pull yourself up and over the bar. When it comes to properly setting up for this movement, you can't do a regular pull-up. If you go for an arched back position, the bar is going to be in the way. Take a page from the first skill we learned and do a hollow body pull-up position. The hollow position is going to help you out. Jump up and grab the bar and let your feet swing forward until dropping down below. Try this a couple of times so you can get an understanding for the movement. Next, I want you to jump up, grab the bar, let your feet fall forward, and at the end of your momentum, drive your knees into your chest. Try this a couple of times so you can see where the momentum begins and ends. With those three tips, I want you to combine them all together. Drive your knees into your chest as you explosively pull up. That should generate enough momentum to get you over the bar. If you'd like more help, simply use a resistance band to help you practice the proper form. Again, lower the resistance band as needed. A lot of people have the strength for the muscle up, but they lack the technique, which is why I teach them the knee drive first. You'll stop kipping as you gain strength. Skill number 21, the handstand. The handstand will probably be the skill that takes you the longest to learn. It can take months to learn, but years to perfect. Proper form for a handstand includes having your shoulders pressed out over your ears, as well as having completely locked out arms. The handstand is like learning how to walk again, so let's make this as simple as possible. Remember, we learned how to tilt our pelvis forward from the hollow body hold. Practice that here to bring your hips in line with the rest of your body. We already talked about the 3 balance points, but let's go over them again. It's going to be the top of your fingertips, the inside of your knuckles where your calluses usually are, and it's going to be the palm. Just like with your feet, if you fall too far forward, push in with your fingertips. And if you fall too far back, push in with your palms, until you have a happy, neutral position. If you want to learn the easiest way to train a handstand, do it on a wall. You'll spend more time on your hands and less time falling over. 10 to 15 minutes of practice and sets of 10 to 20 seconds is all you need to steadily master hand balancing. Handstands can be scary, so let's talk about the perfect way to bail out. You'll notice I'm keeping one hand on the ground that guides me as I'm falling over in my handstand. Keep the guiding hand on the ground until one of your feet touches the ground. Then you're safe to get up. Skill number 22, the handstand push-up. This skill combines the shoulder stand and the pike push-up together. It takes a tremendous amount of strength, body control, and body awareness to even perform. As for the form setup, when we get to the bottom of the rep, we still have our basic 3 balance points, our fingertips, our calluses, and our palms. You'll feel most of the weight on the outside of your hands. The best way to train a handstand push-up is by doing it against a wall. This way you can practice proper form and gain strength without the worry of falling over all the time. Don't feel rushed to complete every single one of these skills in exactly 1 year, but use this as a sure guide to check off any skills that you might want to learn. I'd recommend you complete the skills in the order that I provided, but you can go in however order benefits you the best. I seriously hope this video helps you guys. Make sure to go to STRIQfit.com to check out my apps and programs.